I hate what you two have done to sports television.
And just like that, we are off to the races with Dan Le Batard and Stephen A. Smith.
You ain't innocent.
I'm talking about all the imitators that you have birthed, all of the imitators that are all over the place thinking without the journalism credentials that the point of all this is to turn it into an argument on television.
I was a journalist for decades. We come on television and those ethics are applicable. The fact of the matter is that when I take a position, it's the same kind of position I would take right in the column.
They are applicable, but Le Batard really brings it home here.
It's not that it's ignored. It's that the journalism becomes less important. It's the argument, it's the sparks, it's the debate that needs to be carried.
The fact is, Le Batard, a journalist. Stephen A. Smith, a journalist. Skip Bayless, a journalist. They all come from that same background. However, when Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless paired up with Jamie Horowitz as executive producer to create what First Take was, Le Batard does have a point. And Stephen A. Smith has even talked about this. It is all theater.
Is that it's not about us. It's about the money. Somewhere along the lines, social media came into play. And even with YouTube, you have the ability to monetize your product. People look at whatever it takes to monetize those products, their product, and they prioritize that, and that dictates.
First, as we react to this, it does not take much to understand how much this irritates Stephen A. Smith, because he has likely heard it many times over for a few years now. We're just at the breaking point with Smith and how irate he is, because he is being crowned as that guy who has used his journalistic integrity for a very minimal amount and unfortunately become a very GIF or GIF, it's up to you guys, or memeable figure on Twitter because of what he has recently brought in these last years to take First Take to where it is. And I have talked about this previously. The best sports journalism shows, like Outside the Lines, it's gone. ESPN canceled it. The sports reporters, yesteryears, RIP John Saunders. Secondly, Smith says it's easy to bypass the $70K to $90K newspaper job because of YouTube. I must say, where are these jobs? This also shows a bit of outdatedness because if you're familiar, Sinclair Broadcasting Company, a conservative network of billionaires, have bought into media and eradicated local newspapers. And Le Batard would say this in response, and I quote, "You mutated it, though. It's fair to say that you turned up the volume on all of it." Smith would say Le Batard isn't innocent, pointing out his style is different because he doesn't have one singular person to volleyball back and forth, though, of course, he has a plethora of people in studio, and they all contribute, and that's what makes the show great. That's what makes the show funny. That's what makes the show entertaining. Smith and Bayless did create something. I will say that. My thought is, if journalism was not being drowned out with bloated arguments and fodder, ESPN would have kept the shows that I mentioned previously that they canceled. And in its place, what we have here is acting, quite literally. If you look at Stephen A. making cameos during daily soap operas, that is what he has done to expand his horizons here. Dramatically walking off set, sipping a smoothie, Michael Jordan being able to beat LeBron James in a game of one-on-one, according to one Skip Bayless, when MJ is in his 50s. That is not journalism. So I understand where Stephen A. is coming from. He has to defend his product, by the way, at all times. So there's no surprise in that whatsoever. But what I will say is this. Going from the smoothie and the MJ LeBron thing, and then treating the Dana White DV incident in Cabo San Lucas on New Year's Eve with kid gloves. That was a time when journalism could have came into place, and they rushed to his defense. Not to say that what he did is excusable. It's not. But considering how hard they have come down on different athletes, they did no such thing. No such thing with Dana White. And I end with this. The reason I love Dan Le Batard and their show is because they have room for various voices to not only contribute, but grow. They have a network of people they bring on, from Amin Al-Hassan to Mike Schur, what have you. They give zoo updates. I mean, the list can go on and on and on. What I love about Le Batard, though, is that he has a relationship with Stephen A. They have had many laughs, and he is not afraid to, number one, speak his mind in order to potentially ruffle the feathers of a comrade. And yeah, I appreciate that sincerely.